Movie for a rained-out ball game will not be seen tonight, so that we can bring you the following special presentation. In the deepest, darkest days of Smarch, dozens of people filed into the Vince Colletta Memorial Center in beautiful downtown Minnesota to take in some of the finest action seen in the 242-year history of SleepyKat wrestling. The main event would see the man with no socks attempt to wrangle the Cosmic Championship away from the monstrous being known to all as the Hugmaster. Other matches included Roman putting the Cyberspace Championship up against the Flatulent Moose, and Tracy Dozen putting up her Ladies Cosmic Championship against the Stunt Granny of the Anti-Pie Alliance. However, starting things off would be a matchup for the Cosmic Tag Team Championships, which would see the upstart team of the New Style Ninja Tortoises, Schubert and Bach, attempt to wrangle the championships away from none other than the unstoppable forces of the Charlatans of Destruction, the Underfaker, and the Doorman King, who were accompanied to the ring by their Howler Power, King Vitaman. Though the trio has long claimed to represent a balanced, nutritious breakfast in the morning, those claims have been held as rather dubious as, well, no one really cared about King Vitaman.
King Vitaman series.
However, the group, since winning the championships, has run roughshod over the division. That being said, it does appear that the Tortoises provide a unique threat to the champions.
Vitaman, have breakfast with the king, get a sweet party, and all the vitamins you need.
You have breakfast with the king. Get King Vitaman cereal.
Have breakfast with the king, Vitaman. Have breakfast with the king, King Vitaman. Have breakfast with the king, get a sweet party, and all the vitamins you need.
You have breakfast with the king. Get King Vitaman cereal.
Have breakfast with the king.
I love you, King Vitaman, now.
However, the real threat may just prove to be the fact that it's almost impossible to get a tag team finisher executed in this game, as you can't just whip the guy into the corner every freaking time, it just bounces him off the damn turnbuckle. But I digress. Early on, it seemed that both teams were rather confused as to who exactly they were supposed to be focusing against, as they couldn't seem to argue over which one was the one who was actually in the ring. Both teams would go for very ineffective pinfalls early on in the match. That would all change when King Vitaman would get involved. The Howler Power of the Charlatans of Destruction could truly throw his force around everywhere. He was once, after all, a former Cosmic Champion. However, both the Underfaker and the Doorman Kane have had lengthy experiences themselves, the Underfaker having started in 1994, while the Doorman Kane first popped up in 2006. The Tortoises could be known for putting up a good fight themselves, having thwarted Colonel Schrader on several occasions before eventually defeating him with the power of the mighty, I guess. I mean, we're skirting trademarks all over the place, aren't we? However, at the end of the day, the Charlatans proved to be just too strong as, well, one of them hit their finisher, we'll see soon enough, for the 3 count and the victory for the champions to retain. Yes, the Underfaker managed to hit the DiGiorno pile driver for the 3 count and the victory. As we now move on to the next match, and hopefully a much better narratorial style, where I provide something more of a running commentary. That is, after the commercial break.
Unleash the beast. Unleash the beast. Yeah! Milwaukee's best!
Kevin, did you get choke slammed? Pile drived?
No.
Come on, Big Sexy. What's wrong?
I've got Monster Truck Madness!
Monster Truck Madness for Nintendo 64. The biggest, fattest monster truck game in the world. 19 trucks to choose from, including Big Boy and the WCW NWO Wrestle Trucks. Multiplayer Mania allows 1 to 4 players to compete in 7 modes of play, including Battle Game.
Monster Truck Madness!
Reach out and crush someone.
They're never gonna find us. Oh, it's perfect. To them. To us.
Listen. What? Rescue choppers.
I don't see any rescue choppers.
Keep looking!
2 for me.
None for you.
That next matchup would be for the Cyberspace Championship, as the Hugman of the Chair Hugman board, Roman, put the championship on the line against the Flatulent Moose. Roman has long sought confirmation from the audience after winning the championship, so that he can be more like the Human, to walk like the Human, to talk like the Human. Meanwhile, the flatulent moose just loves to spread his joy of intestinal gas around the world. It's the only thing he recognizes himself for. It's what makes him who he is. Early on, Roman went on the offensive, hitting a headbutt followed by a quick neckbreaker and then a running dropkick. Roman then proceeded to pick him up for a Samoan drop type maneuver. Actually, it was a flapjack, never mind, because I still don't know what the hell it is I'm doing here. The flatulent moose came back with a series of kicks and then managed to drop Roman with a quick spin kick. Though the flatulent moose had an option for a dirty pin, he would not use it because he's honorable in that manner. Roman would counter it with a flying clothesline and then several other maneuvers. However, he couldn't hit his signature superhuman punch because, well, for some reason, corner signatures just don't exist in this game, and thus he had to put the guillotine choke on multiple times. You'll just have to trust me, we'll get there eventually. That being said, the flatulent moose can come back with an offense of his own as he quickly put Roman into a jackknife pin, though that would lead to several counter maneuvers into pinning predicaments of their own. That being said, the flatulent moose could counter with maneuvers of his own, like his patented stinky antler bomb, and his finisher, the deer in the headlights. However, that would not prove to be enough, as eventually Roman would counter back and finish him off with, well, a spear. No funny names there. But yes, Roman would retain his Cosmic Championship, and I'm still trying to figure out this commentary thing. The next two matches would see the Anti-Pie Alliance represented in full force, as Solitaire Rose, who was accompanied to the ring by James E. Cobbler, would take on Lord Anthony Stark, the man in the Iron Man mask. Though the Alliance had been successful in managing to turn former pie lover Solitaire Rose to their side, that would come at a very high cost, as it wound up costing the lives of Christina Hendricks and the man they called James Spader. Meanwhile, former Cosmic Champion Lord Anthony Stark was continuing his quest to regain the championship that had been ripped away during the infamous stupid tournament for no reason other than to hold a tournament. Stark would open the match up in a very aggressive manner, but that doesn't mean Solitaire Rose couldn't bring the fight back with a backbreaker. However, Stark came back with a gut-wrench powerbomb and a quick pin attempt. That being said, Solitaire Rose was able to obviously bring back more offense, landing several blows like backbreakers and that knee strike you just saw. So Stark would take to the air, firing his repulsor beams. By that I mean a flying brain chop. It was then that Stark managed to hit the Brotherhood Without Banners DDT. Unfortunately, it would only be for a 2 count. Rolling to the ring could not... It was then that James E. Cobbler was able to provide enough distraction for a possible roll-up attempt. Unfortunately, in the process, Stark got a rope break. That still gave Solitaire Rose more than enough time to charge up his comeback and hopefully hit the buttons right. He then went for his signature, which was charged up at this point. A series of German suples, followed by a ripcord elbow. It was then that Solitaire Rose went for the 4.13, the anti-pie, his finishing maneuver. And despite Cobbler's reactions once again, it just didn't seem to be enough to take down Stark, as he would eventually hit the Oathkeeper and win the match. And once more, I am fully aware that I'm really going to need someone to bounce off of for this thing to properly work. There was still a glimmer of hope for the Anti-Pie Alliance, as its member, the Stunt Granny, proceeded to challenge Tracy Dozen One for the Cosmic Ladies Championship. Hopefully winning a title would help them push through their sweeping anti-pie legislation that will result in mass assassinations. That being said, this young magic practitioner from some type of comic book universe may have something to say otherwise. The Stunt Granny was accompanied to the ring by her teammate from the Anti-Pie Alliance, the Yate, who would hopefully provide some form of distraction against Tracy Dozen One. And once more, we must be reminded that sometimes these creator wrestlers just for some reason cannot wear a creator belt. I still have no idea why this happens. The Stunt Granny was able to gain the upper hand very early on by hitting the inverted Olympic slam. However, Tracy Dozen One was able to come back with a series of strikes, followed by a massive suplex. Then a head scissors. Tracy then answered with a standing sliced bread number 2 into a pin attempt. However, soon the Stunt Granny would be able to let forth some of her massive aerial maneuvers. Or you would think so at some point. It seemed no matter what attempt the Stunt Granny tried to make, Dozen One had enough of an answer back. Finally, the Stunt Granny managed to hit the Stump Driver. Both women were dazed after hitting their massive signature maneuvers. Finally, Dozen One was able to answer with some aerial stunts of her own, followed by hitting her finisher on the outside of the ring. The Yate attempted to assist things by throwing in a chair to absolutely no avail, as the ref just threw it right out. Then came a series of near-fall roll-ups, followed by an inverted exploder suplex. It's then the Yate finally managed to get up on the ring to interfere once more. They think this would result in a roll-up attempt. Instead, it just resulted in the Shining Wizard. After that came a DDT, which sent Tracy Dozen One to the outside of the ring. The Stunt Granny attempted an outside dive, finally unlocking her finisher. She finally managed to get Tracy Dozen One in position to hit her finisher as soon as she can climb to the top of the ring. This is why you don't pick the top rope finishers in these games, by the way. At the end, though, it just proved to be too much, as Tracy Dozen One eventually got the pinfall and the victory.
For the brightest colors always. What the? Uh-oh!
Introducing Battle Tanks for Nintendo 64. Explosive tank action for up to 4 players.
Battle tanks.
always take care of your car. You never know when it may turn on you. Shift into horror with Stephen King's Maximum Overdrive next. And tonight at 8, go on the hunt with Roy Scheider and Richard Dreyfuss in Steven Spielberg's Academy Award-winning Jaws.
Dooby-doo.
Drink Bud Ice, but beware the penguins.
The next match was for the mythical national championship, where the champion Nicholas put his championship on the line against Harold Fitzgerald. Since betraying his mentor, the disciplinarian, and winning the championship, Nicholas has been on a tear through everything, though he is not above cheating in order to win. After all, he's only 15 years old. Fitzgerald, having recently debuted in SleepyKat Wrestling, has been on something of a tear and thus proved himself a more than worthy contender for this championship. I think I've realized if I'm going to do this one man, at least for the initial parts of this, I'm going to have to try to fully script these. That way we don't have so many dead spots in these airings points. Anyway, let's get on to the match. It took a while for both men to feel each other out. However, eventually some type of movement was made. It took a while for these men to feel each other out. However, at some point contact was made. Fitzgerald seemed to gain the upper hand very early on. Finally, Nicholas began to mount something of a comeback, hitting several strikes with the knee blows. Nicholas then hit a fake out into the DDT, which helped gain the upper hand even further. He then hit his comeback maneuver, managing to get the button combinations just right. However, Harold Fitzgerald was then able to mount a comeback of his own. Fitzgerald finally came back with his trio of teardrop suplexes. Nicholas managed to answer back with his gut-wrench powerbomb. However, Fitzgerald was able to put that into a pinning predicament. Finally, Fitzgerald came back with a gorilla press slam, and had enough charged up for his finisher, but not before hitting a buckle bomb. That being said, Nicholas's talents have belied it. However, Nicholas's tenacity has belied his wrestling ability, and thus he is actually able to get the pin at some point in this match, and thus retain the championship. The night would be held to a very historical moment as the magical girls Usagi and Madoka took on the Laplanders of Anya and Annika for the Ladies Tag Team Championships. Though they appear weak and unwilling at first, the magical girls seem to always rise to the occasion when the chips are down and their friends are in danger. Or at least that's what they are according to their dubbers. The powerhouses in Anya and Annika, the Laplanders, are known for their tenacity and their ability to just throw everyone around the ring at will. And very early on, the Laplanders were able to impose that will at ease, as Anya constantly threw around Usagi with no ill effects at all. That being said, once Madoka got into the ring, things began to change back to the challenger's hand. Still, the Laplanders are just able to impose their strength when needed be. That being said, again, because this is a tag match, it's almost impossible to get your dang tag finisher put into play. So even though the Laplanders were able to actually gain enough achievement mounts to power into their finishers, it just never seemed to get met at the right point. The group would have to settle for hitting their each individual finishers on repeated occasions. That being said, it was still not enough to put the magical girls down. That being said, the magical girls actually were able to get Anya into the corner and hit their finisher, the OVA, and get the surprise 3 count in the victory to become the new Ladies Tag Team Champions. The celebration was on, as it lasted for minutes and hours on end. The The crowd was overjoyed to take in this breathtaking event, and they were clearly ready to just party on into the night, but there was still one more match to go.
After a hard day at the office, working up a big thirst, many professionals reach for the smooth taste of Mellow Yellow.
Woo, baby! Mellow Yellow, the taste that beats Mountain Dew.
And now, Mellow Yellow has pictures and all the facts on your favorite NWA wrestlers. Ric Flair, Sting, the Road Warriors,
And even my pretty face.
head to your favorite store and collect all 12.
Woo! Take it from Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. Make the Mellow Yellow move.
Watch us make your food fresh.
At Taco Bell, when you feel your taste buds tingle, Taco Bell, Taco Bell. Watch us make you a burrito or a tasty enchilada. Tostadas and tacos made up fresh at Taco Bell. Put a smile on your face. Taco Bell, everybody loves the taste. Taco Bell, 'cause we're a fresh food place. Taco Bell.
It's Sunday night, and your weekend's history. Toast, kick the bucket, finish, the fat lady singing, it's over. Unless you send your weekend into overtime. With Sunday Night NFL on TNT. So keep your weekend drive alive with Sunday Night NFL on TNT. Regular season begins September 6th.
That's right, it was now time for the main event, as the Man with No Socks challenged the monstrous being known to all as the Hugmaster for the Cosmic Championship. The Hugmaster is a truly horrendous beast known for just smothering all of his opponents with his never-ending waves of love. That being said, there's also a chance that an upset could happen. After all, we just saw the tag titles change hands, and everyone knows if the tag titles change hands, the World Championship or Cosmic Championship is going to wind up changing hands too. That's how this would always play out, wouldn't it? I mean, here you have the Man with No Socks, who was unceremoniously fired from New York's WNYX radio by Jimmy James after his lackluster Halloween costume. Still, he was able to present himself as a more than worthy challenger and completely worthy of winning that Cosmic Championship, a belt he had actually held once before. That being said, for some ungodly reason, it just doesn't seem possible that they would ever just build a guy up and then have him lose in the main event to continue the story for a later point. I mean, that's just stupid. Anyway, let's get to the match. Once more, the Hugmaster prepared to unleash all of his offense. That being said, the Man with No Socks was able to counter quickly and come back with some offense of his own. However, many of the Man with No Socks' agile maneuvers just couldn't prove enough leverage to overthrow the Hugmaster. It seems that only the occasional rope break would be enough to thwart the Hugmaster's abilities to this day. However, it was then that the Man with No Socks finally began to mount something of a comeback. Unfortunately, the brawl then went to the outside of the ring, which meant the Hugmaster could gain control once more. However, once they got back inside the ring, the Man with No Socks mounted one last charge. However, it proved to be ultimately futile. Soon, the Hugmaster was able to lock in the Lord Huggington and once more completely obliterate his opponent in waves of love and affection, completely crushing his soul in the process, a look of satiety coming across the Man with No Socks' face as he passed out. Still, though, the true victors were the fans, who got to enjoy a great night of wrestling once more.